Why American hospitality has been distorted to this point. And then we'll hear the argument, well, from Texas to California belonged to Mexico. Well, yeah, and California belonged to the Russians at one time before that, and they're not claiming it. And Texas belonged to 3 other countries before Mexico even had it. Spain, France. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. The truth is Mexico couldn't take over the Southwest from the Comanche. That's the reality of what happened. And so they brought in the Tennessee settlers to have a war. And again, I was on both sides of that. It's not like the movies sit there and tell you. There were battles between the Native Americans and the settlers in Illinois and down into Tennessee and all across the nation, if you go back to the 1820s and 30s, where tens of thousands would die a week, where you'd have 100,000 natives come down, led by, they were all intermarried and stuff. They called them at the time half-breeds. I say that because the leader of one of the groups, I forget his name, was like a 6'5", huge half-breed guy. And they would just wipe out whole cities. And so that's the type of stuff that went on. And so I don't blame Mexico for not being able to conquer the Southwest. Mexico just said, all right, you guys just wiped out everybody in the Midwest. Come on down here. And so that's basically what happened. And, of course, all the natives weren't killed, even though I had some family who was in the Trail of Tears. A lot of them just intermarried. And that's basically why most people in Texas, if they're originally from Texas, have Native American blood in them, because most people just ended up intermarrying. It was the warlike tribes, though, that got annihilated, like the Comanche and the Apache and folks like that, because they wouldn't give up, which I'm not knocking. I mean, a lot of those people are my ancestors. The whole point is that this is the nature of cultural collisions, and the globalists are manipulating that right now. So just get real, everybody, about what's really happening, what's really going on here. Now, again, if we had 30 million illegals here who were libertarians and who didn't take welfare, and we didn't have a socialist, globalist government, and they were pro-gun, quite frankly, we need 30 million people. We've aborted 55 million blacks, Hispanics, whites. We've aborted the people that were already here. And so, quite frankly, you've got to have 2.1 adults for every 2.1 births for every family, for every man and woman, or you do not have replacement rate, and society then starts collapsing. Social Security can't be paid for, you name it. The problem is they're not even bringing the illegals in to ever pay for that. They plan to bankrupt everybody and just convert us to a collapsed third world nation like Brazil or like Paraguay. And before a lot of you want us to be Latin America, I suggest you go to Latin American cities. If you like to see sewage running down the road and naked babies running around the streets and disease and death, I mean, it's scary, it's sad, it's bad. And we're not building up those nations. We are deindustrializing them while they build industrial zones and pay people $1 an hour if they're lucky. So make no mistake, just like Obamacare, that minorities and Poles are wildly still in support of, this is a screw job for everybody. The globalists are for it, just like they were for the Iraq War, just like they're for backing al-Qaeda in Syria. Just everything they're for is bad. Just like they're for NAFTA and GATT and all these new TPP deals and the rest of it. What the globalists stand for is bad, period. The toll-free number to join us to talk about the North American Union and really the end of America. If they pass this, they've already been issuing for years this North American ID, and it'll be selectively enforced. You won't have any rights in Mexico, but they'll have all the rights in the world up here. You won't have any rights in Canada. It's only the U.S. that's going to be overrun. And I want to get your take on this. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. And MSNBC and CNN tell the majority minorities over and over again, Well, you're going to win when you get the guns, when you take the guns. You're going to win when we bring in the socialism. You're going to win when you get to bring in your families. Oh, yeah, you're going to win, all right. You're going to have nowhere to run. Because America is going to look just like any other third world country in Eastern Europe or in the poorer areas of Asia. I mean, we're done. And the globalists will live in their walled-off central city areas and their rural, controlled zones with police everywhere. And then all the rest of us are going to live in abject poverty. Let me tell you, Americans are already working 2-3 jobs, eating bad food. I mean, I drove down to the University of Texas area yesterday because I tried to bypass some traffic out doing some paperwork and got stuck in traffic for an hour, going about 5 miles. And I got to look at the people of America. And let me tell you, people aren't looking too hot. People aren't looking too healthy. They're not looking too smart either. And I don't care if they're black, white, Hispanic. People look like they've been run over, like they've been put in a microwave oven, like they've been drinking toxic waste or something. And let me tell you, they have been. And let me tell something, the population out there, something they need to know as well. The globalists with the singularity and the population reduction, El Norte is not going to be some Hispanic palace and some Hispanic kingdom 25, 30 years from now. The globalists do plan to release bioweapons and reduce population. They do plan on bringing in martial law and world government. And all of us are under attack. All of us are being scientifically targeted. All of us are having poison fluoride put in our water. All of us are having Obamacare written by offshore ruthless crime syndicates literally hammering us. All of us are under New World Order conditioning. And it doesn't matter, because even if we're all under attack, even if the reality says it's all part of a globalist game, for people put into racial politics and tribal politics, which has been real since the beginning of our species, we are primitively designed and hardwired to be tribal. And because we're not tribal about private property, because we're not tribal about sticking up for the underdog, because we're not tribal about standing up for the family, because we're not tribal about keeping control of government, because we're not tribal about buying local, because we're not tribal about common sense and being territorial, because we don't stick together as humans against the globalist, we're going to lose, they're going to win. And I didn't finish telling this story. I'm going to tell this story and then give the number out. I'll give the number out now. It's 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. First-time callers. I haven't done that in a few weeks. First-time callers, by the way. 800-259-9231. But let me tell you how we're all under attack. One of my good friends' daughters basically collapsed about a week and a half ago. And they took her to Dell Children's Medical Center. And they went in there. And the place was packed with small children. And the nurses and doctors told them, yes, we've never seen something like this. We're seeing hundreds of children a week that are hundreds. They're even talking about building emergency tents outside. They've done that before for the fake flu deal, who are coming down with type 1 diabetes. And they go, well, it's genetic, but being sick triggers it. And whatever virus is going around, the hospitals are all full of 2- and 3-year-olds. And when he was telling me this, I had a little click, and I didn't say it. And he said to me, he goes, you know, I think it's the virus that is doing it. If they say that it's genetic and nobody in my family or my wife's family, he was saying, has ever had type 1 diabetes, why is it an epidemic? I don't buy that. And he goes, I think it's the virus. Well, the doctors said the virus triggered it, but they've been told in policy to not tell people that it's viral pancreatitis. So I called my dad, who's a smart guy and an oral surgeon and a doctor, but also a chemist, a dentist. And I said, Dad, isn't there some kind of disease, and it's temporary usually, in the pancreas caused by viruses? Just like you can get the mumps in the face and have your face swell up? Because, you know, I knew this knowledge, but you forget the details. And he goes, yeah, that's viral pancreatitis. There's hundreds of types of it, hundreds of known viral strains. Most of the time, the pancreas comes back in a few weeks to a few months, especially if they give them some of the right treatments and the right diet. but they don't let any of the doctors say that because Big Pharma makes too much money off of the diabetes medications. And I went, thank you. So I went online, checked it, called him back, and I said, it's viral pancreatitis. That could be what it is. Well, undoubtedly, it's viral pancreatitis. The kids get a virus, then suddenly their pancreas stops working. That's like saying you're susceptible to the bubonic plague genetically, so one person dies, the other doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's still the bubonic plague bacteria that's killing you. Just like some people are more susceptible to smallpox than others. It doesn't matter if you're genetically not as resistant to it. Still, it's the smallpox that's making you sick. That's why they say everything's genetic now, so they can ignore the real cause of it. Sure, there are some people you can shoot 3 or 4 times in the chest, and genetically their heart's so strong, it'll coagulate, and the muscle's so tough, it'll keep going for a while. You might even live. Other people, you shoot them once in the heart, they'll die. Doesn't matter. It's the bullets going into your heart that kills you. This is how screwed up medicine's gotten, where they're saying everything's genetic. Well, of course it's genetic. But when you've got a doubling, tripling, quadrupling, 4,000% increase in type 1, type 2 diabetes, depending on which one you look at in Hispanics, a doubling in whites, a tripling in blacks. You don't hear any of the black or Hispanic groups talking about why are the Hispanics all getting diabetes and getting their arms and legs cut off, because they are more genetically predisposed to get viral pancreatitis. I looked it up. And they can't handle as much sugar genetically as well. That's true again, processed sugar. The point is, it doesn't matter. No one's telling them, hey, don't. They tell Hispanics, drink diet drinks. This is on the news. Of course, we knew 20 years ago that aspartame triggers diabetes. It's now admitted. It destroys your pancreas and makes you fat and makes you crave food. That was in the news again last week. We knew that with medical doctor Russell Blaylock here. They are giving people drink. You see? You see? Oh, but the Hispanics on average think they're winning. La Reconquista, going to get the gringos guns, going to run the government, going to make the gringo the slave. That's what they're putting. Meanwhile, oh, really? How are you going to do that when both your legs are chopped off and your hands are chopped off and you're dead? See, when I drive by the bus stop and see 10 Hispanics with their legs all cut off, I see that all the time now. See, I want to pull over and warn them because I'm a racist white person. Just like I want to warn them that the Gardasil shot that they're forcibly giving all girls in Mexico will destroy their uterus and their ovaries. It targets the ovaries on record. About half of them will end up being sterile. And they'll end up dying of complications from all the different diseases that are caused by it. That was in the news just 2 weeks ago. Young woman's ovaries destroyed by Gardasil. Merck forgot to research effects of vaccine on female reproduction. Yeah, they forgot. When the Nazis would run people down in a pit to shoot them in the back of the head, they forgot what bullets do when they shoot you. I mean, it is so, we're all under attack is what I'm telling you. The New World Order is the enemy. They want open borders. You think that's a good idea? They want to legalize 30 million illegals as a political army because we haven't had time to educate them yet. The libertarians are taking over the Republican Party. The Republican Party is making inroads via the libertarians with blacks and Hispanics and Asians. But we don't have time to take the Republicans over, folks. You've got to wake up out there as a Hispanic, and you've got to speak out to people that can't understand English, and you've got to warn them. Does Lemecha and La Raza tell you not to go have abortions? No, they tell you to have abortions. Do they tell you not to take the vaccines? No, they tell you to take the vaccines. They tell you to take the Gardasil? They tell you to take the Gardasil. Do they tell you why you're getting diabetes? No, see, they want to attack us all, folks. While they're killing the Hispanics with one hand, with Gardasil and abortion and GMO and aspartame, they're also going to use the Hispanics as a weapon wave to come in and vote to get the guns and everything and then have us all fight with each other. I mean, it's time to wake up to this situation. 800-259-9231. Let's start going to this clip here, though, out of Pittsburgh. As employees learn, we should do this here. I got to tell the employees what's about to happen here. In Pennsylvania, company learned that the increased health cost due to Obamacare.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. Infowars.com. Yeah. I judge what is the secret of the universe.
Infowars.com. Yeah.
You can also see Leanne McAdoo as a 50s pinup with a Barrett 50 cal. This is what drives the feminists crazy. They don't want women actually armed and able to defend themselves. They want women absolutely anti-male, anti-child, only saving themselves in a worshipful way for the state, their God, their king, their master. But some of the news up on Infowars.com, no charges filed against cop who shot 72-year-old in his own driveway. Connecticut gun owners revolt, refuse to register firearms and magazines. Just 38,000 of 2.4 million magazines registered. The police vowed to begin SWAT teaming and purging their enemies. Video, how the globalists want to control the internet. Very important. Protester, cops laughed about having license to kill. We're going to be covering that case of the poor homeless man whose dad was a cop being killed and beaten to death over 20 minutes. Well, the cops went and on record, it's on the local news, arrested a peaceful demonstration calling for justice because you don't have freedom in America. I mean, it's bad when Putin cracks down on selective foreign-funded rallies, but general demonstrations are allowed in Russia. But here they're not. And the cops put them on the paddy wagon and said, when we get you back, we're going to beat your faces in. And reportedly basically said, we can kill whoever we want, and celebrated that young man's death. And a lot of cops will be like, hey, don't put cops down. Hey, all I know is a lot of cops are nice. A lot of cops are absolute psycho goons. And they're taking over. Just like we know in Mexico the cops are bad. Just like we know in North Korea the cops are bad. Stop acting like there's not a battle historically to keep police from becoming corrupt. And so another victory. It's like the Asian man that didn't speak English walking across the street, and the cops say, stop, stop, stop behind him. He didn't hear it, so they beat him half to death. I mean, you know, I think they should have executed him. And maybe his whole family, just to make a point. I'm being sarcastic. This is how sick all of this has gotten. But simply amazing that the Fullerton police, the same one who had the two cops that got off in that terrible case of Kelly Thomas, now in front of the protesters in the paddy wagons, said this. And regardless, they arrested the peaceful protesters who were on the sidewalk. That's like a case in North Carolina I was reading about, where they shot the Hispanic man who was unarmed and killed him. And then the people came out and protested, so they attacked the peaceful protesters at a silent vigil. I mean, this is not really a free country anymore, folks. It's really frightening, the point we've gotten to. So that's some of the news up on Infowars.com. A very, very important breakdown of a government shutting down an 11-year-old's cupcake business. I'm going to cover that in the next hour as well. Briefly, please do not forget that this broadcast is listener-supported, and we've assembled the very best Liberty-based apparel, ball caps, sweaters, shirts, T-shirts, women's apparel, George Washington 1776 belt buckles, just a lot of great stuff at madeit1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. You can also go to InfoWarsLife.com. We've got Made in America flags that you can fly. They're very fairly priced. We just got it all.
The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support 100% organic coffee infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.